1 year ago, El Fin de Semana was still doing his thing. Blinding Lights was still killing it. Save Your Tears was everywhere on the radio. He really didn't have to put out an album, and people were still like waiting for something. Like, let's get some new music. The diehards. We were surprised by getting an album in the first week of January. You know, I'm young. I'm 14, so I haven't really seen many albums and many releases, but I didn't think January was the month to do it. But he released the album, The Experience. This album's underrated, okay? I know people put it on their best of the year list, and I know it's like solid, like 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I see all the time. It's more than that. It's at least a 9. Dawn FM is quite the experience. And when I first heard it the first time, I didn't even think much of it. I mean, I have a reaction of it, and it is...
How do I make you love me? What's it called? How do I make you love me?
It's just, we did not care when we were listening to that. It was bad. It was disrespectful.
I mean, I don't know. Can it be as good as House of Balloons and... What is that?
People were fighting about water.
I got water.
I love that video, but I'm gonna be honest, we didn't get to talk about the music too much, and the album is something that you do want to listen to a couple times and maybe have to listen to on your own to really like feel it. It's not really an album to listen to with everyone else. It's an album you gotta be kind of driving at night, at like midnight too. So I wanted to look back on it, and I wanted to talk about each and every track at least a little and see how I feel about it a year later. Recently it was Record Store Day. I got the cool cover edition. It's pretty cool. First time listening to this on vinyl, how'd I say? It sounds good. I hear things I didn't hear normally.
You've been in the dark for way too long. It's time to your fate with open arms.
Oh, it sounds so good. Ugh. I forgot to mention while recording, but I listened to this around someone once, and they said they can't listen to this song because it just makes them feel weird. Either the repetition or the voice or a combination of it. I think it's hilarious. I've never heard anyone talk about it, but yeah, does anyone feel this way? We see straight off that this album's talking a lot about death. It's going to be talking about accepting it, regretting things, looking back on things. It's always been kind of a theme in his music, but especially on this album, to make it in this specific way, it's interesting. And then we go into the banger of the album, the banger. I will say, notice how these colors are kind of what he wore in After Hours. This one sounds amazing with the on vinyl and You know, those concert tickets are a bit expensive. It's almost worth it for this song. If you've seen the live shows, my God. Even though I've never seen this song as anyone's favorite out of this man's whole discography, my God, it should be a favorite for anyone going to the concerts, because Jesus Christ. It's weird because After Hours is, for most people, is seen as like the pandemic album. It came out right as soon as like everyone was locked in, but this album to Abel is probably like the pandemic album, because this is probably what he made when he was locked in for so long. And we have the dirtiest transition ever into Take My Breath. And sticking by this is Metroid Fusion. I need to see that inspiration. Sector 4, the water one. I also love Take My Breath on this, because you knowing about how this is like the first hit single, you have a way of hearing the song and knowing what it is, and then just hearing an extended version as the album version, as the real version. God, it's just it's like a treat. It's like a whole new song. And this is the one, if you're driving to, make sure you don't speed, because you will die. It's so thick, it's so layered, and just, it's delicious. So far with the first tracks on this album, I'm so like excited, and it just builds and builds. Like each song gets louder and louder. I think How Do I Make... I don't know which one is really my favorite, but they just build an excitement, and the album doesn't really reach that same kind of peak in like, I guess like party type songs, but it just gets me so excited to hear everything else. And it's weird, the first beginning of this album, I just need to listen to that, and I'm already sold. I'm already sold. It's 10 out of 10. This sounds so good. This is also the song that I know a lot of people kind of like love. I don't love, but I really like it, you know? But a lot of people love it, which I'm very happy for them for. We see this man a little more reflective here, kind of like how he was on After Hours. He's regretting some things. He understands why he, like, you know, seemingly can't be with one person. He feels like he's sacrificing time. I don't want to sacrifice. He's a little more, he's grown. His brain is working now. He very much put those songs in the beginning of the album that could have been the hits, most likely to be the hits.
I later had an evil stepmother who further cemented the idea that I didn't
Evil.
need a mother.
Every feature on this album really is great too. I mean, I don't even mind the Lil Wayne stuff. I know some people don't like it, but the Quincy Jones stuff that we hear in A Tale by Quincy is great. Mommy Issues. I'm gonna have to ask you to excuse the time jump. Footage got corrupted. Now I gotta re-record half the video, but it's all good. Excuse the time jump. I didn't listen to everything. This is still first reaction. Don't listen to me. Just watch the video. Now, this little story by Quincy Jones, I don't know if this is something that Abel believes is the reason why he is the way he is. I don't know if he has mommy issues himself. I think mommy issues might be a simplistic and a maybe offensive way to say it, but you think I'm smart enough to put these into better words? I don't know. Boo-hoo. Just kidding, that's fucked up. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. At this point, we've already listened to like the loudest, kind of most bombastic stuff on the album. Now we go into something a little smoother, and you know, it's The Weeknd. He's always gonna make something good that sounds like this. You can see the song as a sequel to Sacrifice, because in Sacrifice, he was like, I don't wanna do none of this. And now he's like, maybe I do, but you know what? It's too late. Fucked up big time, so I guess he's just gonna die. These little passages still work. You know, with the wrong person, this could sound a little like spooky. With this man talking up to the mic like this. I mean, you hear it in the album. He's like, slow tracks coming up. But these tracks aren't even like that slow like that, you know? You know? This one I liked for a while. This one was good. Weirdly, this is one of the sweeter songs on this whole album. And, you know, there's not really a lot of sweet songs in The Weeknd's catalog. They're more like... They're supposed to be... Sweet isn't a word I would describe him as, if I could say that, at least the musical persona. So, a song like this stands out. The Tyler part is good too. The Weeknd is pretty much like, I'm really, really, really into this girl. I'm falling. And then Tyler's like, yeah, that could be happening, but you might want to think past this point, because anything could happen. And hearing Tyler is good to hear like a new voice on this album. On After Hours, you didn't really need a new voice. He kind of carried that thing. But on this album, I'm not saying he wouldn't carry it, but it's good to hear that low-pitched voice back. Oh my god. Evil sounding shit. Evil. Why am I walking over there? There's nothing for me there. You're right here. I don't know if you noticed, but we are halfway through the album and no mediocrity. Nothing. You know what that means? That means the album's good. This is a weird tonal song, though. Like, it sounds evil a little to me. And then he's like, yo, this is my best friend. We kind of... Is he saying, don't hook up with your best friend? Because that might be a good little piece of advice for some of you. Fucks. He also saying that I don't want to get too close because I'm going to probably hurt you. He cares a lot. And it's a weird and it's a tragic way to feel like that if you really do. If you feel like you can't get close to someone because you will end up hurting them. It's so sad. But then we get a banger. This song just came out with a music video, and it's good. It goes like... It almost sounds like this man writes a song about a different woman on every song. Banger. You know, they need to make just an instrumental version of this album, because that alone, that's all you need. Why am I forgetting this part? Oh no. Let me be there. Woo! I almost thought I forgot about this part. I wonder what's next. Starry Eyes? Synths!
I'm gonna play the piano.
At this part, if you're still driving on the highway, you aren't thinking, you're just like...
If I cried out,
I forget about this part. Oh, beautiful.
euphoric, provocative, edgy,
edgy. The little things like that make this album kind of cute. They add to the album. It's like its own little world. I don't really hear many albums based off a radio station, and it's a cool little concept. It's cute. It's cute. What can I say? Don't Break My Heart is something that we've heard The Weeknd talk about a lot, especially on the last album. Any kind of fear of him just like not being in love. But I really do like this instrumental. I like how everything sounds. I like $signs. I like his voice. I like his weird little accent. It's all good. It's good. Stop lying. This part. It's weird how much this album, I don't want to say flies by, but kind of glides by. Because by the end of it, like at this point, you're like, oh, we're almost done with it. At least I am. Not that it went by quickly, but it's like, it's just felt like I've been in this world for a second that as soon as I get broken out of it, I'm like, huh? And I Heard You're Married. That's the one with the Wayne verse that some people don't like. I think his verse is fine. It's fine, but I will say, this chorus, it's not my favorite. It's like the only real blemish that you have, and you know, I have a couple things on my face. I think they add to it. It's also weird how he's talking to this woman on this album, like he's like, "Why are you with him if you're cheating? I don't know what kind of issues you have and everything." It kind of sounds like he's like projecting, because this is stuff that he's done, but like maybe he hasn't been married, so it's different. I don't know, bro. Like, this isn't Wayne's best verse, but it sounds good. Sounds good. So yeah, if it isn't obvious, I Heard You're Married isn't probably my least favorite song on the album. But you forget about it because it's time to run through the wild. I mean, the sunflowers.
I feel like I'm running through a field with sunflowers, and then I accidentally trip on one and get a bunch of sunflower seeds in my mouth. But I'm happy because
What are you talking about?
the sunflower seeds in the mouth. Get the seeds out.
You don't eat them whole?
The shells.
This is kind of the last song of the album, and it's happy sounding. I don't know about you, but I've never heard a Weeknd song like this. Maybe this is the dawn part of the song, because it kind of sounds like 5 a.m. with the sun not even rising yet, but you can see there's red coming up on the horizon. It's coming. If you haven't noticed, this album still is a bit of a conundrum for me, specifically like how The Weeknd specifically feels about death. I can't really nail down exactly what he's trying to say with it. I think this is more or less, at least how I take it, as an experience. The album is an experience, and it's supposed to be taking you through this cool little concept of it being a radio and just giving you some nice songs, and it delivers on that. Everything else, I'm not smart enough to think about it enough. And then a guitar? Toca la guitarra? And that's how it ends. That's the last time we hear him on this album. So weird. Phantom Regret is pretty much just the Jim Carrey outro, wrapping up the album and then looping back to the beginning.
Heaven's for those who let go of regret. You have to wait here when you're not all there yet.
Now I understand what the album is.
May peace be with you.
So at that point, you kind of realize this album is supposed to be purgatory in some way. If After Hours is him dying, and then this is purgatory, is the next album either going to be heaven? Hell? It sounds like he's waiting for heaven. He just has to get over some things. And I don't know if, like, The Weeknd plays constantly in purgatory because he's, like, the best for purgatory because he's a good guy but, like, done a lot of bad things that he needs to get over. Jim Carrey is God is what pretty much is wrapped up here. I think this album is really, really good. I think it's a great just addition into his catalog, and I think people will look fondly on it again, look fondly back on it. It's gonna be some people's favorite, honestly, in my opinion. People are gonna come back to this and just be like, I love what happened here. It's kind of on the tail end of all the 80s stuff, but it's a highlight of it, definitely. Now that it's a 1 year old, man, it's really just gotten better over time, and I wouldn't lie about that. I really do like this album a lot. Listen to it if you haven't gotten the chance to yet. It's good. It's good. I like it.